Hey there, you're at the Chainlink Wyckoff technical analysis session, and last week we asked the question whether Chainlink is going to still continue with the accumulation, and this week we see the price finally launched to the distribution zone. So let's take a look what happened. Here we're looking at the weekly chart, and last time we put in this tag asking the question, was that the last point of support, and indeed it looks like it was. I mean, this turn over here, this little tip. So now the price has surged above this key resistance, or the key level of $22, heading all the way to the 26.10, the next key level. And more importantly, it's way above the sign of strength back in mid-July. So comparing the distribution period back in December to January, as well as the 2023 distribution cycle, it obviously has entered the distribution cycle. So whether or not the buying climax is going to be somewhere near the last one we had back in December, we'll see. We'll let time to tell. But currently, the green bars, the green volume bars, are getting higher than what we have seen at least for the entire March to June. And while it's still not as impressive as what we have seen back in December, it's a healthy start. So if the volume catches up this week or next, then there is a chance that, or the chance becomes more likely that it can go past the key level of $26.10. If we look at what happened over here in the very early stage 2021 mega distribution cycle, the price went all the way to a UTAD of around $52. That takes a very high momentum. We see the volume. The volume is just not at that level as of this moment. So as a first step, let's take what happened last year at the end of the year as a reference. If it ever goes past, then we have other levels to observe from that point. And just while we're talking about this buying climax back in December last year, I'll make this key level line over here. So we have another reference. That's, I have to lock this, and that basically it's around $29.20. I'll make make it more conservative, but you know already, I already talked about this many times, that these are ranges. Even though there's a specific number with the line over there, but they're always range. So look at this wicks and the top of the candlestick. A level is basically a range over here. So if the price really goes up, it can test this entire range over here, not just this very thin purple line. So just to remember that if you're new to this concept. So right now we have this. So what we are seeing at the moment is likely the PSY period. So not the PSY from Korea. It's the preliminary supply. And what we have been saying is it's going to show us some kind of buying climax. So where it goes, is it below or above the purple line? We'll have to see based on the demand or how many people FOMO in. So this is the big picture. Ideally, it's still going to head upwards if it's not like giving us a declining distribution peaks. So when I say this, it means in some altcoins you see a declining trend. So basically whenever you see a distribution cycle and then the next and the next, it's having declining buying climaxes. But this one, Chainlink, it has like ascending or inflating buying climaxes. So hopefully it stays, or the trend continues. Well, even though if it's not as crazy like what we're seeing here, at least it stays kind of a bit flat, just not to go down slope. Going downhill is not something we want to see. So big picture, that's what we're kind of expecting in terms of Wyckoff stages. Micro, we put in a lot of tags over there because I mentioned a lot of times in various sessions that in a daily context, things can happen very rapidly in terms of Wyckoff stages. So LPSY, last point of supply, definitely there was a mini peak over here, and then I said, okay, would there be another sign of weakness? It dropped a little, but not going to the same low level as the earlier one back in beginning of August, just this month. And then I say, would we see an upthrust? And it did happen. It went all the way past this light blue key level of $22, and that's where we are now. And you see there's a level over here, this little peak on the left. I'm going to adjust the chart a little so you can see what peak I'm talking about. This little peak over here, that's where the price is currently, I mean, people are battling around. So let me change this to white so you can see from here to the left. I just want to enlarge it as much as possible so you can see both sides. So here what I'm talking about is this peak over here, multiple candlesticks. These multiple candles that have support, these two likewise, and a bit over here. So multiple candlesticks at least five occasions or 5-day range, that shows us this is an intermediate level between the key levels. So that's why when we look at the candlestick currently, you see the wick and the top of the candle, right? So it's basically trying, or the bulls and bears are trying to fight to whether we're going to stay above, or the price is going to stay above this intermediate support, or are we going to stay below it. So I'll keep this line here for another week. So what, okay, let me just do one more thing. I want it to be a dashed line, so we know it's an intermediate level instead of the solid lines, which are the key levels. So the volume themselves is very impressive, especially with taller green volume, lower red volume. That's a good sign for the bull team. And this red bar over here, even though is like 50-55% or 60% of what the green bars are, there's one thing that over here is showing, it's not just selling. So there's a bit of support at the bottom, pushing the price back a little bit up instead of going to all the way back to the green level where it's close to the buying climax in the daily time frame. So as long as it stays above this light blue key level, hopefully the white dashed intermediate level as well, there's a chance that it can still test a high level. But if this is really the upthrust, you may ask, okay, what's next? If this is really the upthrust, even though the standard or the textbook Wyckoff terminology doesn't call it that way, I will still call this an automatic reaction, just to borrow that concept from the price retracement from the buying climax. So this, instead of the buying climax, is the upthrust. So basically there would be another price retracement from that point going to a support level, I would assume this key level, the light blue line, is one that where the automatic reaction is likely going to happen around this range, and then there would be rebound, and if there's sufficient demand, obviously it will go for an upthrust of the distribution. That's the very positive scenario. If we look at a weekly chart, it has just started the distribution cycle. Well, I won't say there's no chance that the buying climax is here, but it's going to be very disappointing for the bulls if that's the case. If it's really going to test the purple, what I'm trying to say was, in the daily, that's where the upthrust of the distribution would happen, and it seems this is the likely scenario, so I'll put a tag here. If it is really such a disappointing scenario in the weekly that the buying climax is already nearby, then we probably won't be able to see an upthrust of the distribution at this level. Maybe it's like near the blue. If it really happens, if the daily, if this level is already the buying climax, then needless to say that the upthrust is already the highest point for the daily Wyckoff pattern, and we'll only see a couple of LPSYs, and then eventually we'll see the price retreating. But as of this moment, I think the potential for heading towards a UTAD is a little bit higher. When it comes down for this retest of support and then eventually goes up, that's the scenario of higher chance that I'm talking about. But there's still a chance that in case some negative events happen very quickly, after these retests, there will be LPSYs lower and lower, and eventually it falls back to an accumulation cycle. That's scenario 2, but that's less likely as of now, the way I see it, by referencing the weekly chart. So hopefully, finger crossed for the bulls, that this cycle, this distribution cycle, is just beginning, and we'll see a higher level for Chainlink.